She was the old maid no one wanted, until a lonely rancher opened his door and found the one woman who could heal his heart. Love wasn't planned. It was earned in silence, storms, and second chances. Like, subscribe, and tell us, where in the world are you watching from? Let's get started. The rain hadn't stopped for 3 days, turning the dirt roads into rivers of red clay. The cowboy's ranch sat quiet under the gray sky, the horses restless in the barn. He was fixing a fence post when the sheriff rode up, soaked and grim. Behind him on the wagon sat a woman clutching a small trunk. The town's old maid. Her house had been torn apart by the storm, and there was nowhere else for her to go. The sheriff tipped his hat. "She'll stay here till the church finds her a place," he said. The cowboy nodded slowly, eyes never leaving her face. She stepped down, her boots sinking in the mud, her shawl clinging to her thin shoulders. He'd seen her around town before, always quiet, always alone, her eyes sharp as winter glass. The people called her names, whispered things about her being difficult or strange, but what he saw now was exhaustion. She looked up at him, rain dripping from her lashes. "I won't be a burden," she said. Her voice was steady, but he could hear the break in it, small and raw. "Didn't figure you would be," he replied, and opened his door. Inside, the firelight painted her face gold, softening the edges of her weariness. She stood awkwardly near the hearth while he fetched her a towel and an old blanket. The house smelled of pine and tobacco, the air thick with silence. She glanced around, her eyes landing on a photograph of a woman and child on the mantel. "Your family?" she asked quietly. He didn't answer for a long moment, then said, "Was, long time ago." She nodded, her fingers gripping the blanket tighter, understanding without needing more words. As the night deepened, thunder rolled across the hills. She sat by the fire staring into the flames, her thoughts far away. He poured her a cup of coffee, rough hands careful as he handed it over. "Thank you," she murmured, "for this, for letting me stay." He shrugged, settling into the chair opposite her. Storm like that, no one should be out there alone. But when she met his eyes, something flickered between them. Not gratitude, not charity. Something quieter. The next morning, sunlight spilled through the windows, washing the cabin in gold. She was already up, her sleeves rolled, tending to breakfast as if she'd always belonged there. He watched from the doorway, unsure how to feel. She moved with purpose, not asking permission, not waiting for approval. "I thought I'd make myself useful," she said without looking up. He nodded slowly. "You don't have to." She smiled faintly. "I know." Days passed like that, her mending things he didn't realize were broken, him pretending not to notice the peace her presence brought. The townsfolk began to whisper again. "The old maid's living with him now," they'd say. "Ain't proper." He didn't care, but she did. One afternoon she found him mending a saddle outside. "They're talking," she said softly. "Let 'em," he replied. "You can leave if you want." She looked down at her hands. "I don't." He felt something shift inside him, a warmth he hadn't known in years. Yet every night as she read by the fire or hummed softly while sewing, he reminded himself who she was. A guest, a woman wounded by gossip, not someone meant for him. But the heart doesn't listen to rules. It just beats, harder and louder, until silence can't contain it anymore. One evening, the wind howled again, carrying the smell of rain. She stood at the window, her hair loose, her face illuminated by lightning. "It's coming again," she said, almost to herself. He walked up beside her, close enough to feel her shiver. "You're safe here," he said quietly. She turned to him, eyes glistening. "I know," she whispered, and for a moment, the world outside disappeared. When the storm broke, she startled, thunder cracking above the hills, and he instinctively reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. The fire flickered low, shadows moving like ghosts across the room. He saw everything in that moment, her loneliness, her pride, her heart still beating despite all the years of being unseen. And maybe she saw his too. The man behind the silence, the ache behind his eyes. The storm passed before dawn, but neither of them slept. When the light finally crept in, she was sitting near the fire again, his coat around her shoulders. He poured 2 cups of coffee, setting one beside her. "Guess the church will find you a place soon," he said. She stared at the flames. "Maybe, but I don't think I need one anymore." He didn't answer, but his chest tightened with something dangerous. Hope. Outside, the land steamed under the morning sun, and for the first time in a long while, the air felt alive again. She turned toward him, a small, tired smile on her lips. "You ever think storms bring more than they take?" she asked. He looked at her, then at the horizon beyond the hills. "Sometimes," he said. "Sometimes they wash the dust off what's worth keeping." And though neither